Today on this Healing Feeling, I'm delighted to be spending time with Sarah Hook, who describes herself as a holistic nutritionist and women's health expert. Sarah, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for finding the time today to come and speak to us. And I suppose, where would you like to begin the conversation?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for having me on, firstly. It's really nice to be here, and I feel honored to be able to share my story because, yeah, I think it's really powerful for people to share their stories together so that we know that we're not alone in healing in general. So I think that's like where I'd like to start is like the importance of sharing our journeys with each other. And part of sharing my journey is kind of sharing all sides of that, like the highs and the lows, because I feel like it's good to show humanness, like it's that vulnerability and humanness. That's a lot of kind of how I share my journey, even with my clients and on my Instagram, social media. I try to share all of it so that there's that like connected feeling between us. I think it's really important. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I'm just going through, I've discovered Brené Brown quite late in life, and she is very big in talking about actually the power of vulnerability and how actually it can be it's such a thing to bring strength to people to know that they're not alone, they're not the only one that's going through something. And in a society where often we are kind of encouraged to kind of, hold it together, pull it together, sort of, buck up, sort it out, that there is really a time and a space, I believe, in someone's healing journey where actually they do want to be heard, they want to be seen. And
Yeah.
it helps hugely if the person that they're reaching out to has had some of the experiences that they've had, or at least an insight into what it's like to be sick. So, did you come into this line of work through your own personal challenges then?
Yes, and so I came to holistic health in general, like when I was in my early 20s. I would say my health wasn't really bad, but I had some symptoms that were kind of, yeah, not nice. And I didn't really get much help from my doctors. I was kind of just told, you probably got a virus. I'd have my bloods done, and then nothing would show up. And there was no support apart from, you probably just got a virus. But that went on for like 6 months. And I was working at the time in an office, and I was just getting kind of like, like daily fatigue, daily headaches, daily digestive stuff, some skin stuff. I mean, I could still work, but I was just, I just knew that it didn't feel okay. And it was kind of just lingering, whatever it was. And then I think it was my mum brought like a book home one day from someone that she worked with in her office, and it was about nutrition. And this one in particular was about the microbiome and the gut, and how important that is to the immune system. And I remember reading this book, and I just made some changes in my diet. And 2 weeks later, I felt so much better. It was so quick that I was like, okay, that was like my first kind of introduction into, okay, our bodies are really clever. And, and there's so much out there actually than just the doctor saying there's nothing we can do. Like there is stuff that I can do for myself. So that was kind of very empowering. And it took me on a massive journey of just, yeah, going on the internet and just learning. It just opened up a whole world for me of like holistic medicine and working with the whole body. Um, and so I was already interested, but I think it was mainly kind of a hobby and a lifestyle that I lived myself. But then in my mid-20s, I got bit by a tick, and that was
Oh,
kind of the next
oh,
journey.
oh,
Yeah, so I was bitten by this tick, and there wasn't really awareness I found in the UK back then, because I'm in my 40s now. So that was when I was 25. So there was no awareness of Lyme disease back then. And so I just, I pulled this tick off my leg, and that was it. I didn't do anything about it. And it took about, I think it was my early 30s where, and my kind of health was kind of deteriorating, even though I was doing all the right things, but my health was just not going. in the direction. I mean, for the amount of like wellness that I was doing, I was just like, something's not right here, because I just don't, like, I'm doing all the right things, but I just don't feel okay. And then it was just kind of one day, it was like my nervous system just kind of collapsed. And I woke up and I was really, really sick and really ill. And um, I kind of thought back at that moment, because a lot of my symptoms were very neurological. Like I started having continuous panic attack. Like I had like adrenaline pumping through my body all day, 24/7. Like my whole body was shaking, I was fatigued. It was just like a very scary feeling in my body. And again, I went to the doctors. I said, like, I feel like I'm dying. Had all my bloods done, nothing came up. There's nothing we can do for you. And I was like, I'm here again in a place where I'm like, yeah, I have to work this out by myself. Like, um, and then I thought to myself, I remembered the tick bite, and it kind of, because I'd read a little bit more about Lyme disease through I was a holistic practitioner by then. So I'd trained, done all the training in it. And I'd been learning about like the nervous system and Lyme disease. And then I was like, I think that's what's happened to me. Like I didn't get treatment. So the bacteria from the tick just kind of built up in my body. And then to the point where it was just too much. So yeah, that took me down a whole, I would say that took me down the deep level of healing, because I couldn't work for 8 years. Um, yeah, I've only started working in the last 3 years. So it's been like a really, really long journey of healing, trying to find my healing from that place. Um, and so, yeah, I've had a really deep dive into healing and all of the aspects that I needed to add in that I wasn't kind of focusing on before. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that with everyone because um I mean only yesterday was I untwisting a tick from one of my dogs.
Yes.
They are nasty little looking things like aliens
Yeah.
and oh. And my mother said, "Do you remember when a family friend of ours, she had long skirts and she was walking, she got one on her leg. And again, I mean,
Okay.
at least she got something on it. But
Yeah.
for a long time, we were just so oblivious and unknowing about the risks of ticks and Lyme disease.
Yeah.
And time and time again, this story is coming up. And the NHS does the best they can. But of course, when you don't know about something and something doesn't exist and it's not coming up in blood tests, that's the way that they were searching for
Yeah.
the signs of something being in existence.
Mm.
And I just how amazing that you through this firestorm, this nightmare of health just ness coming at you, you could still actually just kind of go, oh, hang on, well, there was that tick bite, and that was the doorway, wasn't it? It just
Yeah.
suddenly you were like, hang on, this is where I need to go and do my research. And 8 years of being sick and not working, that must have had a huge impact on your mental health as well as your physical health. I mean, can you tell us a
Yeah.
bit about that?
Yeah, but I think the Lyme disease also creates, like, I suffered the worst, and I'm still healing my mental health, because the Lyme disease attacks the nervous system, and the nervous system controls our mental health, basically. And so yeah, I did suffer with the worst anxiety, depression, OCD. I had everything, intrusive thoughts. My brain was so on fire and inflamed, the whole nervous system was, that my mental health was probably the most scary part of the journey, because I just like, oh my gosh, I just don't, not even did I not recognize myself, I just didn't feel safe in my own body and my own mind. And that's a really scary place to be. So that has been a huge, huge part of my healing. Was I focus everything on how can I not just heal from Lyme disease, but how can I repair my nervous system? Really, that was my focus, not just like killing the Lyme, but how can I repair the damage that's been done? Um, But obviously through not working for 8 years and all of that stress, and yeah, it's really tough. You kind of lose your identity. I think we place society places so much value on things like, work and finance and achieving all these things that we're told we should achieve. So when you can't do any of that, I feel like it's a huge spiritual journey, because you really have to just kind of be with yourself and with nothing else, and just know, eventually it's really hard, but just to know that that's enough. Like, the achievements in life are not what makes you important. So for me, it was like a whole big journey of just like taking on me on this spiritual journey of like just knowing that even if I couldn't work or do the career I wanted to do, that I was still like worthy. That was a huge part.
Gosh, and really you've articulated that incredibly well, because so often in my own journey as well, I went through a period where I wasn't able to work, I wasn't able to produce or create and support myself. And as you say, society does put a huge a huge value on this kind of like, you have a job, you have money coming in, you have a car, and then you have relationships.
Yeah.
And when you have a health challenge, suddenly so much of that just disappears. And all you can do really is just fight to survive whatever is attacking you in your body. And for those who are really in a terrible state, that's so, so hard. Um, and so just coming back now to, so you've gone down this kind of rabbit hole of like, okay, I think this is what I've got. How am I going to treat this? You spoke about actually killing the Lyme, but also then supporting the healing recovery. Let's start with the killing. How did you try and sort of get it sort of sorted and destroyed?
Okay, so it's been like basically trial and error the whole time. And also the way that I look at everything that I've done, even if I didn't get the results, I feel like it was all accumulative, right? Everything led to the next step. So I always see, because some people are like, what worked and what didn't work. But for me, it was like, it was all of part, everything was like part of my healing. Obviously I got like more instant results from other things, but so at the beginning, I think I tried like a lot of herbs, like herbal stuff. I even tried like the THC oil, like potent cannabis oil that they use for, I think it's called Rick Simpson's oil that they use for some cancer treatments.
Mm.
Because I'd heard that was really good, though that was brutal. It was a really brutal
Yes.
treatment. And I felt really ill a lot of the time. I'd say like the first 2 years was really, really hard. I just felt awful all the time, really. And this is where I'll get to later, is like how I approach healing from a different space now than I did at the beginning. So in those, yeah, the first 2 years, I was trying lots of herbs, just trying to kill this bacteria. But I felt also very depleted and weak and just ill all the time. And then I tried stem cells. So I actually researched stem cells, and I had my own stems. Like, I went to Germany and I did a treatment there.
Gosh.
So that was very intense and a very kind of long recovery afterwards. And in some ways, I feel like it helped. In others, I felt like it made my immune system a bit more reactive. So I had like some more symptoms on top. It was a really difficult time kind of looking back on those, maybe the first, yeah, even 5, 6 years, because it was just a lot of treatment, but a lot of suffering at the same time. I wasn't getting much relief from anything, unfortunately. So then I went to another clinic in Cyprus to do ozone therapy, which is another treatment that I heard that could be good for Lyme. At that point, I was really restricted with my diet. My immune system was so reactive that I was reacting to every food that I ate. So I would have allergic reactions basically my heart would be beating. I'd feel like I just need to lay down. And that was happening with all foods. So I was in a very reactive space at that time. And I was just trying to find something that could, I felt like I needed to calm my system because it was so reactive. And that could have been from just, I think, the fact that I'd been bombarding it with trying to kill the bacteria the whole time. So my immune system was just like, it just didn't know where it was. Um, and then I started a treatment. So I came back from that and I did feel a bit better actually, but I knew that my nervous system was still very reactive. So that was when I was started to think about how can I calm my nervous system? How can I just calm my body so it doesn't feel so unsafe? Because I knew that I was just in this survival, fight or flight, traumatized state all the time. So that was kind of the beginning of like, okay, how can I feel safe in my body? Because I just don't feel safe. I just need to have a little bit of like relief from this constant adrenaline.
Mm.
And I started a treatment at that time called bee venom therapy. So this is extreme one for people that don't know about it, but it's basically stinging yourself with bees along the spine.
Oh my goodness, gosh.
Um, yeah, but this is the best treatment I've done. So I heard about it actually at the beginning of my Lyme disease journey, and I heard about it and I was like, that's crazy. I'm never doing that. That's just not for me. But then 6 years down the line, when you've gone through everything and you're desperate, I
Mm.
was like, right, I'm going to try it. And I had a friend that had already started, so I think that helped. So she helped get me started. And there's a lot of groups out there. There's a few Facebook groups, free information for bee venom for Lyme disease. And so I went on there and I found a beekeeper who would send me bees. And I needed an EpiPen, obviously. You have to make sure you're safe. I had
Mm.
to have an EpiPen. And then I still do this treatment. I've been doing it for just over 3 years now. And you sting 3 times a week, 10 stings a week. So it's 30 stings a week. Yeah.
God, crikey.
Yeah. It's very extreme, but it's been extremely amazing for me. So yeah, I've been doing that for the last 3 years. And there's a lot of research coming out now on bee venom and how like the peptides in it and the enzymes are amazingly healing. I think they're doing a lot of research around it for breast cancer as well. There's some, if you want to Google it, you can see what they're doing around that. It's very fascinating. So yeah, I started that treatment and it wasn't easy to begin with. My body obviously reacted to it, but that also kind of meant that the bacteria was reacting as well. So it was quite hard at the beginning, but it's also brought me a lot of healing from the Lyme symptoms. Um, and I'd say like I'm 90% healed at the moment from that. Um, and then yeah, that was kind of around that time I also was like, I want to start working on nervous system regulation and trauma now. I want to try and heal the mental side of everything. Yeah.
That is just incredible. And I mean, sitting here as someone who, I mean, I talk to people about pain quite regularly in one way or another, and it's a very subjective thing. But for anyone who's had pain, most of us at some point may have had a sting of some description. You know, that's something that's quite relatable to. It's an incredibly intense experience. I mean, when you first said it, I must say my mind actually went to the whole thing of hormetic stress. Like, actually, you know, is there any aspect of it that you're kind of like training the body that the hormetic stress of the stings that you're getting, you're surviving? So it's kind of reassuring it that actually it can just
Yeah.
I mean that's a weird
Yeah.
tangent, but and I think the thing that now is coming through to me is how incredibly brave you are. Just, to be putting yourself through that. Yes, admittedly, the other side of it, is all of the symptoms and the pain and the trauma, whatever. But actually, to find the strength to be administering such a painful remedy, healing modality, um, wow, that's kind of digging deep, isn't it? Really digging deep. And
Yeah.
so, and how long did it take for you to notice? And you might have said, and I missed it. How long did it take for you to notice that this was actually helping?
I think within the first year for sure. But then it's, even on the second year, I could see improvements on the third year. So it's a very, if anything, I've had to learn patience. I mean, healing in general is you're tested really, your patience is tested. But this treatment, it's not a fast one, it's a gradual one. And I have been rewarded for that patience each year that I see the improvements. And they
Mm,
say, it's usually a 3.5 year treatment anyway. So I'm coming up to the end of it. Um, yeah, I mean, I really feel like humans in general are extremely strong. I think that we are very strong when we have to be. When we're put to the test, we are strong, like I don't think that I could have imagined myself doing what I've done, but when you are in that place, for me, there was the choice that there was no choice for me. It was either try it or I was still suffering. So I was just like, I'm going to do this. I think when you're desperate enough, that there's not many things that we wouldn't try and do. Um, and the stings, they are painful. I definitely have got used to them. They're still painful though, but it's
yeah.
still not as painful as the chronic illness that I had. So, it's like in perspective.
Mm,
Yeah.
just incredible. So now, as you mentioned briefly, but let's dig a bit deeper into this. Your next challenge was actually to now work on the trauma and the immune system and actually get it to a place of feeling safe. Would that be correct?
Yeah. So I realized that I'd suffered immense trauma through being ill anyway. I definitely had CPTSD. And I also realized that I'd actually had a lot of trauma before that. And that was kind of me thinking like, okay, I'm going to kind of, yeah, look into this place now. I'm going to go back and try and see if there's trauma that's affecting. Well, I knew there was trauma affecting my nervous system, but I wanted to start addressing it. Um, and so I started EMDR therapy with a practitioner, which I've been doing for the last 2 years. And I feel like that's really helpful at like moving past the trauma and rewiring the brain. Um, and going back into old childhood trauma, because I really do think that things like that can affect our bodies. Like
Mm.
it's a weight that we carry that we don't really know we're carrying, especially with the nervous system health. So yeah, that was kind of I started doing a lot of somatic work, like working with my body in general to just kind of release old trapped emotions through, I really like yin yoga. It's a really, really nice practice of kind of releasing from the body and breath work, yeah, EMDR, then like emotional freedom therapy. So I was just really kind of experimenting with lots of different ways that I could work with my body and the trauma and help it kind of process and release. And that's kind of where I've been on my like the last 2 or 3 years. And that's a journey too. Um, I don't know if many people talk about the journey of like even when you've healed the symptoms, you have to step out into life again, and that's really, really hard. So yeah, healing the trauma and being able to try and gently like open your life again because your nervous system gets used to what it knows. So
Yes.
like yeah, so like even though I felt better, like everything was really scary. Like starting my business again was really scary and building hobbies again and just being social and so yeah, that's kind of been the last 2 years has been trying to like really help my nervous system feel safe about like rebuilding life and what that looks like. So yeah, that's kind of where I am now in my journey. And also the way that I work with clients now, which is kind of the way I wish I'd worked with myself at the beginning, but we all learned through mistakes, is that I work with the body rather than against it. Like, I'm at the beginning, I was fighting my body. I was so angry, annoyed. I wanted to kill the bacteria. So it's just like constantly fighting my body. I wasn't listening to my body. And now I have an approach where it's more like, how can I work with you? What are you telling me? How can I do the detoxing and the replenishing together? So it's more about how can I heal, but in a balanced way, not extremes, like not an extreme where I feel like you can actually just suffer more by doing really extreme healing.
Mm. Oh, I absolutely agree with that. But firstly, that whole thing of actually, you're trying to heal your body, you're trying to heal your mind, and then you're trying to actually integrate yourself back into society and people and expectations and relationships and jobs and all the rest of it. And that again is kind of, giving us challenges, which can
Mhm.
very easily set off symptoms and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
And then that idea of actually, going into helping others. I always try, my theory on life is things aren't problems, they're challenges as much as possible. And things that happen in the past that you're not so happy about are really those wonderful things that either make great dinner party stories or you learn from them, and actually
Yeah.
you improve. And I think in, again, society, failure and getting things wrong, we have a really weird backward way of looking at it, because if you look at any of the most interesting people who've invented things in the last many, many years that have existed, they haven't just suddenly gone, right, that's it, we've got it. There've been numerous versions of that didn't quite hit the spot. And when it comes to healing, when you're not in it, when you're not experiencing, you don't know someone who's having an illness challenge. I think what often happens is people go, oh, well, you can sort yourself out and then you'll be healed. And actually, the healing journey from these kind of podcast interviews and the research I'm doing, it doesn't kind of come to a point and that's it, you stop.
Mm.
Even when you've managed to reduce the symptoms and you've found a way to live your life in a much more proactive way to support your body and your healing journey,
Mm.
actually then it's proactive and preventative. And I think, for those of people in the world like yourself who then go into service, which is just such a lovely, lovely, lovely thing to do, using the skills and the learning that you've acquired on your own healing journey is such a great way of being able to then support the people that you're working with from a place of empathy and understanding and relatability.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so tell me a little bit about that. I mean, you describe yourself as a holistic nutritionist and women's health expert. It's
Mhm.
nice that you actually decided to focus on the women's health thing, because I mean, actually, women's health again is something that over the last 5, 10 years, we only started being a lot more open talking about, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, women are different than men. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm passionate about women's health, I guess, because I experience it myself, but also because I do feel like even this healing experience has been really, from a woman's point of view, I believe the world doesn't really support us and it puts an extra stress on us. We have cycles that we go through monthly. So we're not like this steady stream of energy all month. And I think there's a lot of shame that women can have. We feel like we should be active and doing all the time. It's just not naturally how our hormones run. And the world is kind of around more men's energy, not women's. And so I am really passionate about helping women let go of that shame and firstly know that there's nothing wrong with them. Like that we
Yeah.
have cycles of energy and they go up and they go down. And firstly, yeah, that's really important so that they understand that. And then I think, yeah, women's energy just, it needs more nourishment and gentleness and softness. I do believe that the woman's body thrives with that kind of treatment. We aren't it's again, it's like kind of that, it's not that go, go, go energy that makes a woman's body thrive. It's yeah, just being soft and gentle and listening and connecting. Um, and again, I feel very blessed. Like my experience has been bittersweet because it's been horrible, but it's also, I wouldn't have learned, I wouldn't understand what you can go through with a chronic illness. So I hadn't experienced it myself. I have that deep understanding and empathy. So I really feel blessed when I can work with my clients and understand where they're coming from, and also understand where they're physically at with their nervous system. For me, that's also another thing, are they in fight or flight? Are they, because I know kind of the cycle that I went through and what helps at different at times. Um, so I do feel really blessed to have had that experience, and I think it really helps me work with people. So that's the positive that comes out of it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. Um, and I suppose that's one of the things when someone's looking for someone to assist them in their healing journey, actually knowing that you've been there, been through it, and are still in your own way living that experience is such a support really to them. And I spent my life going to see doctors and trying to explain to them symptoms, and then them sitting there nodding their heads and writing it down and being like, "Well, you look fine today." And I'm like, "Well, yes, because I've dragged myself here to tell you that it's a bit rubbish." So,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, let's not go down that one, Lucinda. So I mean, you are obviously like, as much as it's been a journey, you're in a, I'd say, we're really quite a positive place. I mean, the person I see before me is someone who, by all accounts, in whatever, I can never get the words right, looks as though, you're living a healthy life. You're glowing, your hair looks great, your eyes are bright. How do you feel just generally on a day-to-day basis? Is it much, much better, would you say now? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Much more stable. My energy is much more stable now. So I don't really have many crashes unless I don't know, I'd have to do quite a lot. Like I think I did a work because I can work out now again, so that's really nice. But I also still have that awareness not to push myself too much. Um, but yeah, I just feel like my energy is so much more stable, and I just feel definitely much safer in my body. I just think the only things I'm still definitely healing from the trauma of everything, but I feel like I'm always moving forward in that, and I feel like I'm very supported. And I think awareness of just in general how trauma can affect you helps you know that it's not that you're broken, it's just that you've gone through something, and you have to gradually just help your body feel safe again in the world.
Mm,
Um, but physically, I feel, yeah, a lot better. But I'm still working on my mental health. I think that's something I want to be open about as well with people, because there's a lot of stigma around mental health, and I don't think it's talked about enough. So yeah, I try to be open about that. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, that's incredibly, incredibly good of you, because as much as we say that we're much better, I absolutely agree. There is still a stigma, and especially I'd say for women, when we have moments where we're needing that support and that kindness and we're lower energy, actually being able to sort of say it, still it takes a lot of kind of guts, doesn't it, to kind of I'm like, actually, no, no, this is a time when I need to just listen to my body and do what it needs me to do.
Yeah.
Um, in your daily routine, I mean, when you get up in the morning, some people say have apple cider vinegar or they have hot water and lemon.
Okay.
Is there anything, are there any kind of things that you do in particular that you feel get you off to a good start?
Yes. So I try not to be too rigid with my routine, and that's because I am healing perfectionist. So, like recovering from perfectionism my whole life. So for me, it's actually really important not to be too rigid with any routine. But I definitely have things that I use on like a daily basis. Again, my nervous system works. So when I first wake up in the morning, I will do like a yoga nidra or meditation, or put my legs up the wall, which is really helpful for the nervous system to regulate. So I try and always start my day from like not going straight onto my phone or like bombarding my nervous system. So I try and start from a calmer place. Um, and then I'll get up and I'll do tongue scraping, like an Ayurvedic. Oh, sorry, no, I do oil pulling first. It's Ayurvedic, like oral health, where I do some oil pulling with sesame oil, which is just swishing sesame oil in your mouth basically for like 5 minutes.
Gosh.
Yeah, and then you spit it out and then tongue scrape. And it's just in Ayurvedic, they see it as a good way of getting like all the bacteria out of the mouth that you could accumulate in the night. Then brush my teeth, and then I'll hydrate. So I'll have a warm water. I don't like cold water. I think warm water is better for like the digestion or for my system personally. So I have a warm water. Um, and then I'll try and have a breakfast that is, you know, as nourishing as I can. And it'll be either a smoothie, depending on the weather, or if it's colder, it'll be like porridge, or eggs. I try and focus on blood sugar balancing and just trying to keep the blood sugar as level as possible. So yeah, that's kind of my morning. And lymphatic exercises. So I do a lot of lymphatic drainage.
Super. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my things that I would do every day, those little things.
Oh, that's awesome. Because as much as when you're sick, your mornings, you can never guarantee how you'll feel or what will be challenging you.
Mhm.
I'm kind of coming to the realization that having a few, and again, perfectionist and trying to get the healing thing right, lists of stuff that I should be trying to do, having one or two things that you think actually, tongue scraping, or, maybe doing some lymphatic drainage. I mean, I think the idea of, legs up the wall is a brilliant one, because actually there's not a lot you can really distract yourself with, can you? When you're in that
Exactly. Yeah.
position. um, no, so that's lovely. Thank you for sharing. That's super. And clients reaching out to you. Well, first of all, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience today before we kind of get to how they find
I think
us?
we've covered everything really. I can't think of anything else that pops to mind right now.
Okay. I will just, I mean, what I'll probably say, I mean, if there's a book that springs to mind, great. If not, we'll put it in the show notes. But
Okay.
are there any books that you really found helpful in your healing journey that you would like to share?
Um, oh gosh, I don't know. I couldn't read for a long time because I just couldn't concentrate actually. So I
Yes.
didn't do a lot of reading. Um, I like, it's actually a book called When Women Rise Rooted.
Oh,
That was something I read. And it's more about, again, women and their energy. And it's not specifically about healing the body, but it's like the kind of that energy of feeling rooted in yourself as a woman. I found that really, really powerful book to read, actually. Yeah.
that sounds incredibly empowering. Fantastic. Thank you. Oh, and so if someone wants to find you and work with you,
Yeah.
where are you? Can you share some links with us?
Yeah, so the best place is Instagram at the moment because my website is in the works. So my Instagram handle is at underscore Sarah Hook underscore.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Excellent.
nice.
Well, it has been just a truly wonderful experience sharing time with you today. The things that you've shared with our audience, I'm sure many people will find very, very helpful. And hopefully we will be able to follow your journey on Instagram. And yes, if at any point you feel that you'd like to come back and tell us how you're doing, I'm sure the audience would love that. So
Oh, yeah,
thank
I'd
you.
love that as well. Thank you very much. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much.